Welcome back to the third and final video in this series. We still have quite a few rules to cover, so let's hurry back to see what Kermit and Babbling Brook are up to. As you may recall, Cassock just failed miserably in his attempt to dig near the tree, and now Brook wanders over to see how he's getting on. They have a brief argument over who gets to try the dig action again. Cassock's pride is somewhat wounded at this point, and he's determined to salvage some dignity, especially now that he knows which way around to hold the shovel. Waving away Brook's offer to help, he attacks the ground once more. In the gear up step, I'm going to select the shovel again. And for the draw step, I think I'll draw 6 cards this time. Unfortunately, my action deck just ran out of cards, so I'll have to pause what I'm doing and perform a recovery. Oh look, the banner's back. A recovery lets you shuffle your entire discard pile back into your action deck, but there's a price to pay. Cassock loses 10 life points. By the way, if we had any of these Hope Reborn cards, we could have sacrificed those instead of losing hit points. But we don't have any. And even if we did, Hope Reborn cards can also be used to unlock all kinds of cool stuff in the Citadel leaflet. And who doesn't enjoy unlocking a tree full of buffs? Anyway, now the recovery is done, I'll finish drawing the cards I wanted. Okay, that's not too shabby. I may be able to pull this off. For the result step, I can use his improvise card. The condition icon is empty, so it can be used on any action. And this icon with a chain lets me consider one more card result when I'm counting stars. So instead of considering 3 cards, like I did last time, I can use 4. I think I'll choose these 4 cards, which give me 4 successes. And having used that skill, the card tells me to discard it. I'll do that right away so that I don't forget. I can also convert some class icons into successes. Whenever you do this, remember that each instance of a class icon is a bit like a coin in that you only get to spend it once. So I'll spend this cloak icon to give me an extra success. And this question mark can stand in for a fist, which gives me another success. By the way, the class icons you spend will usually come from the result area of your action cards, but keep an eye out for other locations too, such as skill cards. Anyway, that's 6 stars altogether. Hooray! That's 1 more than we need. Brook stops him digging any deeper in case he unearths a Balrog. Now, could I have succeeded at the action without using up his skill card? Maybe. But this is a how to play, not a strategy guide. Besides, Cassock's more of a dig first ask questions later kind of guy. After Cassock's little victory lap around the tree, we can apply the success consequence, which is to gain adventure card 68. But notice that next to the number there's a little green card icon with a white dot. This icon means that you should only take the card if it's available. If it's not available, then you should just shrug your shoulders and move on with the game. In this case, the card is available, but this begs the question, what happens if a card isn't available and there's no little white dot telling you to chill out about it? Well, we saw an example of this on the starting terrain card. If there's no little white dot beside the card number, then the game really wants you to find that card, and it's willing to make you tear up the space-time continuum in order to find it. If the card you're looking for isn't in its usual location, you need to take all the cards from behind the past divider and one by one return them to their original locations in the card trays. Once that's done, you should be able to take the card you were originally looking for. Anyway, returning to our game, we also need to roll a die for the shovel again to see if it breaks. And apparently it's made of titanium. Let's reveal the card, and we dug up a treasure chest. Not very original, but kind of exciting because it seems to be full of swag. By the way, in the real game, the illustrated cards will be resplendent, with their colourful and beautifully rendered objects and environments. But in this video, I've used some crappy homemade substitutes, which is pretty on brand for this channel, but at least it's not spoilerific. This card has no icon in the corner, but it does have an arrow at the bottom which attaches it to the card we're on. The icon on that arrow reminds you which action revealed this card in the first place, because you can't take that action again. This card is called a permanent event. You never move figures onto a permanent event, but you can access it from the terrain it's attached to. And that's the end of his turn. Kasich wipes the sweat off his brow, and they both take a moment to admire his handiwork. Then Brooke notices a glint of metal in the sand. If you look at the card carefully, you'll notice a 3-digit number hidden in the illustration. When that happens, you can take the corresponding adventure card. But whenever you find a secret or hidden number like this, always check the back of the card you drew and make sure that it has this thumbs up icon. Also make sure that the number beside it matches the card which brought us here. That all checks out, so I'll flip the card, and we scored a shield. Normally, new purse cards must go to whichever player was performing the action, but in this case no one was performing an action, so I think I'll give it to Brooke. The shield can be used for fighting and dodging actions, and it allows you to convert any two class icons into this yellow shield icon. The shield icon cancels up to 2 points of damage, provided it comes from a damage icon. Now it's about time one of them cracked open this chest. On the one hand, Brooke does have the lockpicking skill, but on the other hand, Kasich's shovel can be used to pry it open. Brooke asks, "Hey Kasich, mind if I borrow your shovel?" He reluctantly passes her the shovel to help. Players can trade items like this when they're at the same location, but the shovel has a weight of 1, so both characters must discard 1 action card. Seems like a lot of effort just to hand someone a shovel, but what would I know? Okay, Brooke is going to open the chest, she's the active player, but Kasich is going to be involved in the action, just so I can demonstrate that, in most situations, involved characters are about as useful as a jet ski on the International Space Station. They can't contribute skills, items, or anything much, other than snide comments and backseat driving. The cost is 2 or more action cards, and the difficulty is 4. She'll start by selecting the shovel, and I think I'll draw just 2 cards. Okay, I get 1 success from the card results, and I'll use her lockpicking skill, which gives her 1 success automatically and also converts this cloak icon into a success. That's 3 successes so far, but I need a 4th. So I'll use her Jack of all trades skill, which gives me 1 wildcard class icon to spend. I'll treat it as a fist and use the shovel to convert it into a success. So that's 4 successes and the action succeeds. Yes! I'm not entirely sure how she managed to combine delicate lockpicking with a brute force shovel attack, but I'll leave that question to philosophers of board game theming. Unfortunately, I have to discard both her skill cards, but never mind, totally worth it. It's now the consequence step, but before I plunder the chest, I'd better roll a die to see how the shovel fares. Damn! Apparently breaking into the chest was too much excitement for Mr. Shovel's delicate constitution, and that card gets blocked. Don't tell Kasich, but I think she broke it. By the way, the weight of blocked cards still counts against your weight limit. Good luck remembering that rule. And if you don't like carrying a broken shovel around with you, you can always discard it, or hand it to another player. Anyway, it's time to see what's in the chest. We get 3 adventure cards, and this icon lets you restore 1 blue action card to your action deck. To do that, you take a random card from your discard pile and then shuffle it into your action deck. The permanent event card gets banished behind the banish divider, which is where particularly naughty cards get sent for time out. Banished cards are well and truly out of the game, until the end of the threat, at which point you reset the entire game. Before we look at the new cards we just drew, let's end Brooke's turn. Notice that even though he was involved in the action, Kasich wasn't able to make himself useful. So why bother being involved in an action if you can't even assist the active player? Well, there are a few situations where it can make a difference. Sometimes rules or effects in the game will refer to involved characters. Also, if an action is marked with this little staircase icon, it's called a group action and can only be attempted if all the characters get involved, at least the conscious ones. And finally, if the players get dragged into a sequence of mandatory actions, then the involved characters can take turns being the active player. We actually saw an example of this in the previous video. Brooks performed a Pathfind action on the back of an exploration card and was then forced to perform a mandatory action on the front. If another character had been involved, they could optionally have become the active player for the mandatory action. A similar situation is compound actions, which I'll touch on later. These take place over several turns, and even when they're mandatory, involved characters can take turns as the active player. And that's being involved in a nutshell. Just try not to forget that you must declare your involvement at the very start of a voluntary action, at which point you typically have no idea what's going on. By the time a mandatory action gets revealed, it's too late to get involved. Okay, it's time to check out the treasure we dug up. The first adventure card is a purse card, some sort of medieval steroids by the look of it. She tosses that to Conan, who looks like he's already partial to some roids. Next is another purse card, but not a good one. Oh no, maybe this chest was cursed or something, because Brooke now has an incurable case of the hiccups. The padlock icon means that she can't discard it or pass it to another player. And the effect is mandatory whenever she's trying to perform a stealth or hiding action. It'll increase the action's cost by 8. Let's hope she can find a brown paper bag or something, otherwise she's in for a rough time. And finally we have some good news, a Hope Reborn card. This is a quest item card, so it's shared by everybody. There's a quest item divider in the card tray, which currently has nothing behind it because I'm at the start of this adventure. I could keep my quest item cards behind there, but I'm pretty sure I'd just forget about them. So instead, I'll put the divider on the table as a slot for my quest item cards. Hope Reborn cards have an action on them, which let you mark off a symbol on this progress tree, the Destiny page of the Citadel leaflet. Rewards include new skill cards, new buildings for your settlement, new cards for the world map, and more. That's described on the Citadel leaflet, which you can check out any time without fear of spoilers. We're rapidly approaching the end of this video, which is the end of this series, and although it was never intended to cover every single rule, there are just a couple more things I'd like to mention. As you play the game, you'll eventually come across multiple adventure cards with the same number on the back. Here we have 2 cards numbered 83. You should always take one of the green copies first, if there is one. A gold card is like a bruised banana at the supermarket. Only take it if it's the last one available. Or if you were specifically told to take the gold one, obviously. It's highly recommended that you keep bruised bananas behind their green counterparts as a reminder to take them last. You'll also see duplicate card numbers with a banner icon to the right of the number. This means that there are several variations of that card, and you'll need to select the one with an icon matching your current scenario icon if there is one. Or it could match one of your item cards. The rulebook has some examples on page 16. Now, at this point I had planned for our heroes to do battle with a giant grasshopper which had escaped from the rulebook. It was going to be a whole thing, but I'm afraid that I must wrap up the exciting adventures of Brooke Shields and the Green Lantern because there are some other videos I need to start work on by several weeks ago. So I'm afraid you're going to have to learn about compound actions from some other YouTuber with a funny accent and the upload frequency of a hibernating bear. This is obviously a shocking dereliction of duty on my part, and I'd like to offer my humble apologies for triggering any abandonment issues. If you get savaged by a vicious grasshopper on your first playthrough, that's on me. I will, however, splash this list on the screen. It shows a few of the major rule differences between the 7th Citadel and the 7th Continent, because I did promise that I would do that, about 500 years ago when I started making this video series. Thanks for watching, and congratulations on making it to the end of this entire video series. I hope you enjoy your own adventures in the Collapsing Lands. Good luck!